1 second. Is that a scanner or a shredder?
You said what?
I said, is that a shredder? It sounded like a shredder. Let me hook these headphones up really quick.
Oh, probably because I was cleaning my screen off.
Oh. AirPods.
That's much better. Okay.
Or I'm ready when you are. Let me see.
Let me move this slide real quick. I think it's like a spotlight. Okay. I think that's cool.
All right, let's do this. I don't want to keep you long, so let's see if we can just boom, boom, boom. The cool thing is you're on the West Coast, so it's not like I'm keeping you up all night. Sometimes people they're on the East Coast, and it's like 11 o'clock where they are. So, have you done any of these before?
I have not. This is my first one.
Okay, cool. So I think it'll go well. I'm gonna just kick it off, and we'll just get right into it. I have an editor, so don't be like, he can always chop up stuff if we need him to. So. This is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode 154. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, the founder and director of the Todd Capital Investment Club, the founder of the Todd Capital Options Community, and the owner of the highly successful Todd Capital Options course. Doing a lot of really cool stuff in real estate and in business. And of course, continuing to bring you guys content on the podcast that you guys can hear the stories of successful African-American business owners and entrepreneurs. This is a unique, well, I wouldn't say it's a unique edition. It's different because I don't know if we've ever really had that many people who are local. Usually we talk to people who are like in Texas or in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Some are on the East Coast. So Los Angeles is a unique beast.
Yes,
I admire people who are able to have success here because it scares me. So
you doing
with
it
us, with us today we have Kendra, also known as Klose with KG. She is a real estate agent in the Los Angeles market, and she's been having a ton of success despite COVID. So I wanted to talk to her about, just life and becoming a real estate agent, and then also how she's been able to kind of navigate this current market. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So the first question we ask people is, who are you and where are you from?
Who am I? Where am I from? My name is Kendra Green. Like you said, I'm a real estate agent licensed here in California as well as Illinois. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. So from the Midwest, I went to undergrad there. Southwest Missouri State it's in Southwestern Missouri. It's called Missouri State University. Got my undergrad there. After that, I actually started working. Went straight into corporate. I was with Nestle as a sales rep in Kansas City. And then I moved here the first time to Los Angeles in 2013 with Nestle. While I was in that for like 3 or 4 years, I got my MBA from University of Kansas, finished it out here, left Nestle in 2016 and moved to Chicago and then I started working for ConAgra there. I was at ConAgra for like 8 months and got laid off. And so that's where this whole entrepreneurial journey started. So when I got laid off, it was a shock, but like I remember sitting in a room and I was just like, well, all right, so how long do I get paid? Do I get my bonus? How long do I get insurance? Cool. Can I go home now? Or do I have to stay here?
Right.
And they were like, like, I guess they expected me to be like distraught. Cause like other people, I remember that morning, other people were like crying before they even knew what was going on. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But that was because of the few months before that, I had kind of been thinking about getting into real estate. I wanted to get into it to be an investor. And I had an investment deal go south about 4 or 5 months before that. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to just get into investing, I should just get my license. Like I should just learn it myself and, figure it out so I can understand everything versus get into a bad deal again. And so I had been thinking about that. I had just at that time started dating my boyfriend now, and he's an entrepreneur. So I kind of saw the life and how, you move. It's totally different, as any entrepreneur would know, it's totally different from being in corporate. So I kind of had a framework of like, okay, either I can go right back into corporate, which easily could have done that, or I was like, I can actually do what I've been wanting to do. And so I ended up getting my real estate license in Chicago, worked for a boutique Black-owned firm there called Ani Real Estate, learned a ton, really developed like a mentorship relationship with the owner. And then a year later, did it all again because there's no reciprocity in California. So I had to go through the course again from start to finish. It took like 6 months. And so then I finally actually got my California license last August. And we've been moving ever since.
So what inspired the move to California? Because I always wondered that. I saw that you did it and I was like, well, what made her come out here?
So a lot of my family is here, one. My immediate family is in Kansas City, but my cousins, my aunts, uncles, everybody else is here. And so I had come here growing up every other year. 1 year we came here, 1 year they went to Kansas City. So I knew the city. I knew I always wanted to live here. And then when I got the chance to move here with corporate, it was easy. It was like they literally did everything. I just came out, they packed my stuff up, and that was it. Like, because they took care of it. So then this time it was wanted to get back to being around family. We loved, LA. And I always knew I would come back. I just didn't know when. And then the winter of 19 in Chicago hit. And I'm sure you heard about it. It was negative 57 for like 3 days. And we was like, well, that 2-year plan turned into a 3-month plan. And then May 1st, we was out of there. Drove out here. That's a whole other story.
Yeah. So I always ask people this question, and I don't think I got a chance. Well, it's going to seem like we're going backwards, but can you talk to us a little bit about what life was like growing up?
Growing up, it was very, I would say I really got a chance to be a kid. So I'm an only child and an only grandchild. So some would say I was spoiled, but I was in everything. So my mom made sure that I was involved in all kind of activities. I got a piece of, I feel like, everything. I was in Girl Scouts, I was in dance, volleyball, track, tennis, what else? Choir, everything. And so I feel like doing all those different things, one, got me exposure and helped me to learn like discipline to just handle all those different things, but also helped me to learn two things. One is balance of being in so many things, but also I was still a kid. Like I still had time to have fun and, you know, sleepovers. And I used to go fishing with my grandpa and like all those things. But then it also taught me to be a yes and person, to be a person that doesn't take no for an answer. So like, for example, just a small thing. So like I was in high school and I played volleyball, but I also was a cheerleader. And just the timing of the two sports, everybody, like all the administrators was like, oh, you can't do both. You got to choose one because the timing of the games doesn't work. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do both. And that might be practice twice a day. That might mean, you know, working out schedules and stuff like that. But I was like, no, I want to do both. So I'm gonna just do both. And I did. And so that has really stayed with me throughout life of like, when people say like, oh, you can't do like, you know, for example, a 9 to 5 and have a business on the side, or you can't do, you know, two different things because of capacity and timing and things like that. And it's like, no, if I want to do both or 3 things or 4 things, then I'm just figure out how to do it and make it work out.
So why did you choose to get invested in real estate? What made you curious about that space and what made you want to pursue it as a career?
So I had been thinking about real estate literally for like 10 years before I actually got a license. I would notice that just when I was like moving, you know, from into an apartment, like from school or something like that, I would just be so interested in just real estate itself. Like I would find myself, after I would find a place to live, I'm still looking every day just because it was fun. But then after undergrad, I got, you know, you kind of get into that, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get a job, then you're supposed to get an MBA, then you're supposed to like work your way up, blah, blah, blah. And so I just never really came back to it. But then when I got laid off, that was really the crossroads of where I was like, okay, either I could just continue on this like path that I'm supposed to be on, or I can actually get into something that's really interesting to me and pursue that passion. And I think the move to Chicago kind of accelerated it because the market in Chicago is so different from, for sure, Kansas City and LA, just in the gentrification that was happening in the neighborhood around me, the opportunities for investors. Like where I lived in South Loop in downtown Chicago, and I realized that like I could move 2 train stops south and I could own a 3 unit and, you know, have 2 tenants and live there. And I was paying a crazy amount of rent. And so when I realized that, I was like, okay, if this is my thought process, and I started talking to friends, and I'm like, there are a lot of different people who are thinking like this, but nobody knew where to start. And so I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to learn this and figure it out for myself, why don't I, you know, mesh that with this passion for real estate that I had before and actually make this a career and use it to teach people, you know, how to become investors and do these things that I was learning. Because again, I just noticed there was such a lack of education and a lack of exposure to those things that I was like, why can I not just do this? You know, I'm passionate about it. Why, you know, just make it a career and, you know, jump out and do it.
So I feel like you are a fearless person and you just go do what you want to do.
You can say that. Like, yeah.
That's cool. It's a good thing.
Sometimes I hesitate because sometimes it doesn't, feel like that. Like life has never been as volatile as it has been being an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of fear that I have about it. But I think one of the reasons it doesn't hinder me is, one, because I'm passionate about it. Two, because I have the support system of people around me that are encouraging and that are already successful entrepreneurs to like learn from and keep the motivation. So I think that's how I don't let it overcome me. I've just never heard it said back to me. That's why I can say it.
So you're in California now.
Yes.
What did those early years as being so are you a realtor or a real estate agent? Because I don't want to, I know that's like there's a distinction. Can you explain the difference between the two for people who don't know?
Yeah. So a real estate agent is someone who has passed the state test or gotten their license, passed the test and gotten their license, taken the required courses in the state. So they're a real estate agent. A realtor, not a realtor, as some people say. A realtor is someone that has joined the Association of Realtors. So it's kind of that extra step. So you join the National Association of Realtors, the state and your local board. And that pretty much just puts you in that network of other realtors in the area. And the biggest thing that it does is it also gives you access to the MLS, the multiple listing service, where the database where realtors put in all of their listings. So that's a huge piece of it, of course. But again, you have that network, you have there's training courses, and we have to do continuing education. I think here it's every 4 years, just to make sure that, everybody is informed and educated.
So the other question that I had is can you kind of walk us through your early kind of first few months or first year of being in real estate in Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles, it was a crazy it hasn't even been a year yet, 8 months. So I got my license here last August officially. And then I joined it's not small, but a smaller firm called Dilbeck Real Estate, primarily in the Valley. And so I joined that office in Studio City. And here, it was kind of a unique situation because I had only had my license overall for like a year and a half from Chicago. So I had the foundation because I learned a ton when I was there, but California is very different from Chicago. And so I had to learn just a different way of managing the business, primarily because we don't have real estate attorneys here. Where in Chicago, real estate attorneys they're like invaluable to a transaction and hold a lot of or have a big part in holding it together. Whereas here, it's more on the real estate agents, like kind of keeping everything together. And so just learning that piece of it, also coming into a market where I'm not from here. I lived here, so I had a pretty good network, but not being from here, I kind of had to start from scratch to build up that database of people coming back as a real estate agent, kind of presenting myself in a different way. So that's what I really jumped into, was doing that, fostering those relationships. And then 6 months later, my office closed. So that's when I moved over to Coldwell Banker. And so then again, kind of starting with the new company, learning the tools and all of that. A bit of a start over, but not as much as coming from Chicago. And so now I would say so that happened in January. The pandemic hit in March. So it was like start over, stop. And so that, it slowed things down, but I feel like it gave me the chance to really step back and reevaluate kind of how to go about my business, how to manage the business. And then now I feel like just in the past, I would say 3 or so months, I feel like things are moving more. I formed a group with a friend of mine It's called Impact Group. And so we have kind of teamed up to just build the business and build the brand in a different way there. And I think, just like I said, in those past 3 months, things have started moving more. I'm getting the calls every day of like, hey, I saw your sign, or like, hey, so-and-so, referred you to me, or I saw you on Instagram. I've gotten at least 2 clients off Instagram in the past like 6 months or so. So I feel like now it's moving and it's just, more to come.
So how would you describe the current market in Los Angeles right now? Because I'm in downtown and everything's shut down. So we just assume that everything's shut down.
Yeah. And it's funny. I was having this conversation the other day, not being, I guess, even in different pockets of the city, but especially for people that don't live here, when you just look at the news, it looks like, oh, California shut down. Like they're not doing nothing out there. When really my experience has been, it's only indoor things that are shut down. But like LA is not an indoor city. So to say that everything indoor shut down, like it's neighborhoods that shut down the street so they restaurants can move outside, or like the beach is open. Some stores are still open. There's outdoor malls here and stuff like that. So as far as like people moving, I feel like it hasn't slowed down as much. It's definitely different. I won't say it's not like a noticeable change, but just from that perspective, I don't think it's as dramatic of a shutdown as it may seem to people looking in from the outside. As far as real estate, it hasn't really slowed down. What did slow down is the fact that we can't have open houses. So from what I've heard so far.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the cool thing is you can't have open houses, but you can still have showings.
Yes. So we cannot put out an open house sign. My flyer can't say open house. But if I want to say, I'm going to be there on Sunday from 11 to set up your showing, really the biggest difference is that people just can't walk in off the street. You have to have an appointment and you have to have a signed, it's called a PED form. Like it's basically a COVID disclosure. Mm-hmm. That's really the only difference. And so that's why I say like it's different, but it hasn't necessarily slowed down. The one thing that is actually shut down is broker opens, which was a big thing here. For me, for our area, it was every Tuesday just to get out and see the inventory. That's pretty much gone. But from a client perspective, you can still see whatever. And I mean, but the thing is, like at the end of the day, people still have to move. And so
right.
If you have to sell your house, you have to sell it. If you have to move, you have to move. And so the good thing about it is that the buyers and the sellers that are in the market now, chances are they're more serious because nobody's just going to like put their house up for sale for fun and have people walking through it if they don't really want to sell it.
So have you been seeing people leaving like California, leaving Los Angeles to go somewhere else?
I haven't personally. This only story the biggest one, probably a lot of people have heard, is Joe Rogan's leaving here, moving to Texas, because of everything that's happening. But I personally haven't heard a lot of people moving. A lot of people are moving to different areas of the city. So what I have noticed is that people aren't like tied to an office or aren't like tied to a commute. And so I use it downtown for an example, like people aren't worried about, I got to live near downtown because I work down there. So now they're like, okay, well, maybe I can look a little bit farther out. Whereas before, if I'm not going past 405 because I got to get downtown. Now maybe I can look in like Encino, or maybe I can look at, like, what's the area called? Tarzan, or like farther out, or like Monrovia, or different areas that are a little bit more affordable, because people's preferences are changing. Instead of commute and like restaurant external amenities, people are looking to have all of those things in their house. So they want an office, maybe 2 offices. They want backyard space so they can set up, if we have movies in the backyard. They want a pool. They want kitchens that they'll be okay with cooking in every day. They want all of those things inside, even like in-laws quarters. People are just more concerned with home and people around them and family being okay versus I want to live, you know, off of Ventura, or I want to live close to, you know, these restaurants in Beverly Hills or downtown or whatever. So that's been the biggest shift, which I don't think is going to change at all.
Yeah. As far as like prices goes, have you been seeing prices change dramatically, or are they staying the same? Because for me, I've been watching the prices and they'll go down just a little bit. And I've even seen some people actually raise prices. So what does pricing look like in this market?
So prices have been strong through especially the last few months. And that's a big misconception with buyers is that like, oh, it's a pandemic, there's a recession, I'm about to get this deal.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this is not the recession of 2008. This is not because of, you know, bad loans being made and stuff like that. This is because of an external factor. And so really prices have remained steady. I was actually reading an update through July, and I want to say it said nationwide prices were up. It was between like 20 and 24% or something like that, but significantly. And if you're looking for a deal and like a, you know, a bargain, not really, but that's because, again, less people are selling because only those serious sellers are really on the market right now. But buyers are coming back like crazy. Like, I mean, you know, rates are low. They dipped down to like 2.99 last week. So buyers are coming out of the woodwork. One, because of that. Two, because those preferences that are changing, they're realizing that like, why am I paying this crazy amount of rent in this huge condo complex where I got to be on the elevator with 6 different people? I go outside, there's people everywhere. Like I can't really social distance like I want to, where I can, now I don't have to live in this condo close to downtown. I can move a little farther out, get a larger space for my family. Maybe my in-laws can move in and we can afford this home because we can look a little farther out where it's a little more affordable. So they're coming into the market like crazy, but the inventory is not there for them. So it's really competitive right now. I've seen listings that have gotten as much as, or as many as 13 offers, like crazy multiple offer situations going on. So it's kind of bizarre because real estate has really done well through this. And I mean, some people think that's going to fall off a cliff in the next few months. And some people think, you know, it's just the unique situation that we're in. So I feel like time is only going to tell. I mean, there is a case that it could turn a little bit in the next few months just because of all of these forbearances that are coming, you know, ending.
Yeah.
That's going to be a huge thing. But it's going to be interesting.
I saw this video somebody sent me, and apparently like a lot of people were moving out of Hollywood on August the 1st because their rent was due and they didn't have the money to pay the rent. Did you hear about that?
No.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Crazy.
I didn't know if it was true or not, because sometimes people just post stuff on the internet. You never know if it's true or not.
Yeah. The
they
rental market has been crazy though. Like the rental market, it's been really busy, but just in July, it took a little bit of the prices took a little bit of a dip because landlords are realizing like people aren't able to pay their rent. So you started to see like these deals of like, if you can pay rent, then you can get like $500 off, or if you can pay such a deposit, like you can get a discount here, or price decreases like crazy. Like you can tell that the landlords are starting to feel it. And that's why I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens between now and like November. And then in November, who knows? Who knows?
How are you staying competitive in Los Angeles? Because it's such a, I guess there's probably a lot of realtors in Los Angeles, and there's probably a lot of really expensive properties. So how are you getting those listings? How are you keeping your name out there and relevant in the streets?
Yeah. I think it's one, you have to kind of level set yourself in LA and realize like what your goals are. And for me, it was kind of two different roads you could take. I could either come in and say, I'm only going to do luxury. Like I don't want anything, under $1 million, and focus on that. But then you also have to realize with that focus, it takes a lot longer for a listing over $1 million to turn, or to even get that listing, or to break into that, piece of the market. And then the other side of that is like, okay, what's wrong with working with, the first time home buyer, somebody that can afford like a condo or a townhouse? Yes, the price point is going to be a little bit lower, 700,000. But one, those turn more quickly. Two, those clients can turn into clients for life. And then who knows, down the road, you can get, referrals from those people, just building that relationship. And so when I came into it, one, I realized coming into this market that it's a bigger earning potential than a market like Chicago, just simply because of the prices, right? Like you can get a 4-unit building in Chicago for $500,000, and here you're gonna get like a 2-bedroom condo, or excuse me, a 4-unit building for $500,000 versus a 2-bedroom condo here for the same. And so when I came here, I decided to go towards the relationship building part, to say like, I don't have a problem with first time home buyers. Really, the majority of my clients just in the past have been first time home buyers. And some agents will say like, oh, it's more time consuming. You're explaining more, you're kind of hand holding people through it. But for me, I'm fine with that. One, because if I can explain something to you and be on my toes for any questions you have, that just makes me better. Yeah. And then two, there is so much satisfaction, for me at least, when you see that family finally get that first home, and the joy in like I had a family in Chicago where there were 6 kids. And the parents were so proud to finally show their children that we did this. We bought this house. They had been telling the oldest son, like their dad had been telling him like, yes, dad is going to do this. We're going to, reach this goal. And when they did, it was so good to see that and to know that I could help that. So I was okay with that. Like I will work with the first time buyer all day and we will figure it out. One, because I want to see that, growth in that journey. And then two, because I know that I can build that relationship, and down the line, they're only going to grow. They're only going to, build that equity, build their wealth. And those relationships, I think, turn into those $1-2 million deals down the line. And so that was just been my strategy here. Focus on, those areas, kind of I kind of focus on the Studio City, North Hollywood area, just because I know it. I used to live there. Cultivate that farm, get to know those areas, get to know those people. And then as far as the branding and marketing side, I come from branding. So I was in brand management all through corporate. My degree is in marketing, all that stuff. So I'm a marketer. And now I just had to apply all those things to my business. A large part of that, especially now, is on social media. So I just hit it hard with continuously putting my brand out, adding value where I can, just putting out content that is going to educate more than anything, and focusing on just the basic pieces of it. Like on my YouTube, I started kind of a series that's just like the basic things about real estate. Like I did a video from the question you asked earlier. I did a video on what's the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. Did a video on what is the MLS, on what are the different types of mortgage loans that you can get, FHA, VA, conventional, and all of those. Because I think what we don't realize, especially as people in the real estate industry, is that people don't know a lot of the things that we think they do. Yeah. We live and breathe this every day. So the things that I may just like skip over because it's normal and that's usually how it goes, like people don't really know that. They may pretend they do, exactly. But they don't. So I really wanted to start there and just add that value and build that rapport with people, so that they know having me as an agent means that you're going to get your questions answered. You can feel like any question that you have is valid, and that you'll be walked through the process to feel comfortable.
I feel like people can learn a lot from you in how you use social media, because you're always putting content out there. You're always kind of documenting your journey. And I think that's so cool, because it's like you might think you might be posting a lot, but like it's cool to see it. Like I'm just like, every time I see them, like double tap. Like it's just kind of cool because it shows that somebody's really that invested in what they're doing. It's not something they just kind of do. It's like, no, I'm doing this Monday, on Saturdays, at nighttime. Like I'm always have this going on. And what's also that I think is cool is that you always use like different platforms, even TikTok. So that was kind of cool to see you using TikTok and now YouTube. So that's cool.
It's funny. I'm trying to train myself to document the journey more, because it's easy to, just feel like something is insignificant. And like I have to stop myself from talking myself out of not posting a lot of stuff, because I'll be like, oh, no one cares about, like today we had our contractor couldn't get in the listing, so he had to like go over the balcony. I'm like, do people care about that? Like, especially during March, April, May, that time period of everything that was going on with like COVID and George Floyd and all these things that were happening. It was hard, particularly during that time, for me to kind of post more consistently, because I was just like, all this stuff is going on. Like, is it insensitive of me to come in between that and be like, hey, rates are low, do you want to buy this house, when people are like not able to pay rent? And so I struggled with that a lot. But that's when I started the YouTube of like, what's MLS? Because I realized like, yes, you may not be ready now, but I can still add this value of planting the seed. But I struggle with that a lot. I've gotten better with it now, just because I feel like things are a little bit different now. But yeah, documenting the journey it's fun. And I think for myself, I just have to keep telling myself, like, it's not insignificant. Just keep putting it out. Somebody's gonna, find the value in it.
Absolutely. What would you say to somebody who says that LA real estate is overpriced?
I mean, I always say you pay for the weather. You pay for the environment and the atmosphere of LA. I think that it's very different to visit here versus to live here. So to visit here, which I did for, 23 years, visiting versus living is like night and day. And so I feel like there's this stigma with LA sometimes of like, oh, it's fake, or it's overpriced. It's not worth it, basically. And I think for some people, maybe not, but for some like myself, it was totally worth it. Because of the opportunity that's here, because of the atmosphere of just like hustle that is here. And I think it also depends on the circle that you're in, because there is that part of LA that's like fake and plastic and all of that. But I credit personally the fact that my family is here and the circle of friends that I've developed here, which coincidentally, I don't have too many friends that are from here. A lot of my like close friends aren't from here. I don't know. That may or may not say something. Not saying anything bad about people from LA, because I have great friends that are from here. But it's just a different vibe when you're someone that's not from here and comes here, because most people that come here looking for something, and they're determined to get that thing, and they hustle to get that thing, and they're building a team around them a lot of times from scratch to do things, whether it's like independently. I'm thinking of like independent films or just projects where there's always something just working here that I don't feel like you get that energy from different cities. And for me, it's like, I'm okay with paying a little more for that because I know the growth potential is bigger. At the bare minimum of it, the real estate is more expensive, which means the commission checks are a lot bigger. So just the potential here is just, I don't think you can find it anywhere else at all.
I feel like LA is expensive, but you kind of rise to the occasion. So you're going to be working at 8:00 at night. You'll be working on weekends. You'll be, grinding. And it's like, if you can either avoid greatness or you can rise to the level of greatness. And greatness is expensive. And so LA is expensive. So, yeah.
And you have the people around you. When you have the people around you that are doing the same thing, it's not even a question. Like, and it's the same thing on the flip side. So like, if you're in a community or an area or a city that's filled with people that are just okay doing the bare minimum, if you go in there as an entrepreneur, as somebody that's trying to go above and beyond with everything, you're gonna look crazy because your environment's not like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as a realtor in Los Angeles, what would you say are some of the difficult parts about being successful in LA?
I think keeping perspective is one of them. I think it's something that I kind of have to check in myself every now and then when you see, whether it's on social media or TV, and you're like, man, how does this person keep getting like these $40 million listings? Like, what are you doing? How is this, what is going on? But then I just kind of have to come back to like, one, it's been 8 months. Like, just give myself a little bit of grace and say like, my hustle is no different, for one. My determination is no different. So allowing time to get me there and to grow is one of the struggles that I've had that I just kind of have to keep in check. Another, maybe just the saturation of the market. Like, you really have to set yourself apart here. There's like, I think the number's like 1,000 or more agents in California, but like, I don't know, like 30% or something actually use their license. And out of that 30%, who knows how many are actually good agents? Yeah. So just making sure that's why I do so much with like branding and marketing, to articulate like, I'm not just this random agent that you're gonna call and may or may not hear from, or may or may not actually be professional and good at my job. Like, what I'm articulating from my marketing and things, like, that's how I am. Like, that's how I need to set myself apart to make sure that I'm doing well.
So despite the struggles and the difficulties, what are the benefits? What keeps you here? What keeps you hustling?
It's exciting. Like, to see the ball rolling and to see things moving, to get the calls from, random people I know that are like, hey, it'll be the smallest thing for me. It'll be like someone that I'm cool with. It's like, hey, I know you're in real estate. I have this question. Or I have someone that I gave your information to because they're looking for a house. Just seeing the momentum, the forward momentum is super encouraging. And it's something that I kind of have to keep with me on those days that is not really moving like crazy. So that is super inspiring, one. And then just knowing the potential that is here. So kind of on the flip side of what I said before of keeping myself in check, just seeing like, there is so much potential here. There is so much untapped, like, just space here for me to fill. Like, I don't feel like, as saturated as the market may be with agents, I know that I still have a piece of it that, that is out there for me.
Very true. It's a huge market.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of agents, but there's also a lot of opportunity. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to somebody who's looking to buy a house in Los Angeles right now?
I would say if you are seriously looking to buy a house in LA right now, and so I'll kind of give two different scenarios. If you are, have the job stability, have the funds, ready to go for down payment and are kind of ready on that end of the spectrum, I would say start looking. The inventory is low, but if you find something that meets everything and are ready to move on it. Don't wait, because somebody will come in and grab it, probably like 6 or 7 people. But I would say if you're on the kind of the other end of the spectrum where you need some work, whether it's on like credit or, job security or just getting like the down payment and everything saved, I would say start now. Start talking to a realtor or a lender right now just to understand what the goalpost is. A lot of people, excuse me, are like, oh, well, I want to buy, in 6 months or whatever, so I'll wait until then to start the conversation. It's like, okay, but you don't know what the goal is. Like, and they'll just guess like, oh, I got to wait until I save 20%. It's like 20%. Well, 20% of what? Because you got to know like what your buying power is. And then 2, maybe you don't need to save 20%. Maybe you need to save like 10 or, 3.5 if you go FHA. And starting that conversation earlier is how you can see what that goal is, work with that person to figure out that plan to get to that goal. And then I feel like that gives you a better framework to just understand like where you're going versus just being like, oh, I'm gonna just save, because while you're saving an extra $10,000 over like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, prices are going to go up too.
Yeah.
So then, when it comes down to it, you really didn't save anything because now prices are higher, your mortgage is higher.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't help.
Are you aware of any programs in California, specifically like this area, that help people get into homes that they should be aware of?
Yeah, I know there's what is that acronym? CalHFA? HFA? CalHFA. Mm-hmm. Let me look that up real quick before I say something wrong. Yeah, CalHFA. It always confuses me with FHA. Yeah. So I know there's CalFA, and I still said it wrong. I know there's CalHFA, which is it stands for California Housing Finance Agency, which is a program for buyers. I believe it's a down payment program. And then I don't know the particulars, but I know there's another one that can get your down payment super low, if not, completely gone. I would have to talk to my lender partner about that, because I know she has some great programs, but there are a lot out there and they bank on the fact that they're hard to find. They may be, there may be some hoops or, a few hoops to jump through, but if you can qualify for it and it will help you get into that house, why not?
Yeah.
I think it's just doing the due diligence and finding a lender that is good and has those programs available, because it could literally be the difference between, yes, we can afford this house, or no, we can't, which is huge.
Man, what is the most successful real estate deal that you've been a part of?
The most successful deal, I think the most, so I hesitate because it kind of depends on how you define success. Like, I've had the deal that I'm thinking of is the one that brought me the most kind of satisfaction and excitement for my clients, but it wasn't the most expensive one. And so I'm going to go with that one just because it was the one I mentioned earlier. It was a family of, I can't remember if they had 5 or 6 kids. So a family of 7 or 8, and it was their first home that they were purchasing. I believe their oldest was around 13 at the time. And I didn't even find this story out until we got to the closing table. But the dad had told the son, like, just as he was growing up, he's like, man, we're going to do this. We're going to buy this house. Like, I'm going to get our, you know, our family into this house. Like, it's 7 or 8 people, like a lot of people. And so they got approved. We found an amazing house for them. It was like freshly renovated. So it was, you know, everything was just brand new. All the kids had their rooms. They had the basement. There was like a huge space for them to just run around. They had the backyard. They had the, you know, big front yard. And it was just so nice to see them be able to spread out in this house. I actually went to their housewarming after they closed and everything. And they were grilling outside. They had the dog running around. Like, the kids were just so happy. And then I follow them on Facebook too. And so now I'll see them, like, they built a fence. A few of the sons helped the dad build a fence in the back. And they just have all of these experiences in this house now. And it just feels really good for me to know that I could help them achieve that thing, that it's just expanded, like, the experiences, I feel like, of their family, and help them to just, you know, grow together. It's really good to see.
What does a day in the life of an LA realtor look like?
I'll tell you about my day today. It was crazy. So I woke up this morning, and so I have a lease listing right now, me and my partner, and woke up this morning, we found a tenant, and sent the lease last night to be signed. It was late, so I was like, oh, you know, they'll probably sign it tomorrow. Got up this morning, was gonna go do a final walkthrough with them. Got a call as I was getting ready that basically they decided on something else, and didn't let anyone know until this morning. So first thing I'm thinking is like, okay, I got to find somebody else. So I remember there were like 2 or 3 other potential tenants that had called, and after we got these tenants approved, and I had told no to. So I immediately called them back and was like, hey, it's back. When do you want to see it? One of them could see it this afternoon. So I had a few hours to just, like, you know, do emails and stuff like that and get all that together. Communicate with my client, just tell him what was going on, but also let him know, like, hey, this is going right back on the market active. We were hitting the ground running. Like, I'm about to call these people and get somebody else in here. And so did that for a few hours, did a little bit of, I always set aside at least an hour for prospecting, whether that's on social media or returning emails and phone calls and texts and stuff like that. Went through some listings on the MLS to send to a few buyers that are looking right now. And then I got a call from our contractor at the lease listing saying that he can't get in the front door and couldn't figure out why. Like, it's a keypad. So I was like, you get the number. We've done this before. Come to find out, the keypad battery is dead. We don't have the garage doors programmed yet, so we can't get in the garage. So then we're like, okay, well, do you have a ladder? So he climbs over the balcony, gets in. So I have to rush out earlier to get to the listing to meet him, so I can make sure that I can have access for when these tenants come for the showing. So get there, go through a few things that he's fixing. He replaces the battery, so we're good there. So he leaves, the tenants come, do the showing. It went really well, actually. They're gonna come back tomorrow, and hopefully we'll find somebody for this listing. As soon as they're leaving, actually, as they were leaving, I literally got 2 texts and a voicemail for other people that want to see this listing. So now I'm like, okay, well, when do you want to come? Got somebody coming in the morning, in the afternoon, like, let's find somebody for this. Then headed to a happy hour with a few friends, with my partner and some other ladies. We have kind of an unofficial group of, like, it's about 6 or 7 of us, all Black women realtors in LA. So it's just That's really cool. Good to, yeah, I was surprised. So I was introduced through another friend when I moved here, and I was like, wow, this is cool. So we get together, every, 1-2 months, every month or so, just to unwind, have a drink, talk about. We usually actually don't even talk about real estate. Just talk about life and the craziness that is that. And so chill with them for a little bit, and then came here.
Wow.
And here we are.
You make being a realtor sound like a really fun thing. It sounds like the TV show. Like you
It
could
is
probably make a
fun.
TV show.
I
You
think that a
show
lot.
nice homes and you go to happy hour. Like that's living the life. And happy hour
Yeah,
is business purposes, networking, is building each other up.
exactly. I'm always
Um,
here for a good happy
you
hour.
said something in the beginning of the show, and we're about to start wrapping up. But you said something in the beginning of the show where you said that like work as an entrepreneur is different than work in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So can you kind of explain that and also explain the difference between like your schedule now versus when you were just working corporate?
It is night and day. Like, it is crazy. So corporate was a normal day at corporate was like get up at like 6:30, 7. This was here. Get to work kind of through traffic around 8, 8:30. There were usually, well, I can't say it wasn't crazy because corporate was crazy too. Some days I would literally have meetings every half hour. When I was in corporate, I was in brand management, and I was in candy. So I was over Easter and Valentine's Day candy
Brand
for
management.
Nestle.
I need to
Yeah.
hire a brand manager.
Brand management was fun. It was
Never
really
thought
fun.
about that.
Yeah. And so there, at least brand management was like, you touched everything from product formulation. Like we were testing flavors for gummies and colors for like nerds and stuff like that, down to packaging, to presenting to clients. Like I been to Target and Walmart a few times, presented to them. Presentations with the field sales team, make sure they have what they need. I came from field sales, so I kind of had an idea there, make sure they had what they needed. Internal presentations for, getting funding for new products I wanted to launch the next year. Working with finance team to make sure I wasn't spending all the money. We touched everything, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a ton in
Right.
that job, so I can't say it wasn't crazy.
It sounds like it's a lot going on, but it seems like it's more laid back. It's like we do these things, but I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, it's like you do things with a different sense of urgency because you sink or swim like based on whether it pans out. And so you're going to do way more stuff. You're not going to be doing things just for the sake of doing them. It's like you're not just going to be sitting in meetings all day if you're an entrepreneur, and like you have to be out there getting clients. So I ask these questions selfishly because I'm just like, man, eventually I'm going to leave my job and work for myself full time. And so I know that it's going to be a lot different, and it's probably going to sound like your day. Like, we got to get this. If you got to hop over a balcony, we got to get this.
Yeah.
Man.
I was like, I'm not going to hop over the balcony, but if you have a ladder, you should do that. And then you should let me in the front door. But I think the biggest difference, like you said, in corporate, it was less crazy because it was prescribed work. Like it was, I would present things that I wanted to do, like as far as products or whatever, but the strategy, even if I had a hand in it, the strategy was set. And then we were working within that. And you're kind of told to some degree, this is what we're going to work on. This is where we're going, figure it out. And then as an entrepreneur, it's like, I have to figure out what the work is. And that was something that I had to really kind of wrap my head around when I became an entrepreneur. Was like, no one's going to tell me like, you should work on this today. I had to figure out like, what should I work on today? And then it in some cases creates a bit of maybe obsession's not the word, but you kind of do get obsessed because it's like, I find it hard for me to just like sit and relax now because I'm like, okay, I finished everything that was on my to-do list, but there has to be something else. So, or if I'm just like sitting down watching TV, I'm like, I could edit that video that I did earlier. Let me just do that. Like the line, let me just do that real quick. Yes. Like it is never real quick. It turns into 2 hours every time. But it's the passion is what keeps me going, but it can overwhelm you sometimes. And I think those are the times where I have to just kind of step back and realize kind of what I said before, what my true strategy is as far as the part of the market that I want to tap into or the brand that I want to put out. And I think one of the other biggest differences between corporate and being an entrepreneur is that corporate, there are checks and balances.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, not really. So in corporate, if there was somebody that I didn't get along with or that was causing like issues in my team or something like that, you just go to their manager or their director and be like, hey, this person is, X, Y, and Z, like they're, just not, it's not working. And that person had to figure it out, handle whatever was going on. As an entrepreneur, if there's an agent that wants to talk crazy or not, handle things professionally, short of like reporting them to the board, which most of the times it's nothing like that serious, it's just people being annoying. There's nobody to go to. And you just kind of have to figure it out, get through it, and then remember that as petty as I may want to be, this is not my livelihood that's on the line. Like, this is my client. So as annoyed as I might be with this person, I have to think about my client and getting them what they need and just kind of put, my pettiness to the side and get it done. It's hard.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you the quick wrap-up questions, and I'll let you get on. The first question is, who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Oh, that's a good one. I gotta think about that one. It's hard to narrow it down to like one person. Okay, I know.
Okay.
So I can't really say there's one person, but I really admire all of the new investors that I see in real estate. I have not jumped back into the investor pool yet since kind of the deal that went bad early on, but it is so encouraging to see the stories of people that, are closing on these houses that they're flipping or holding, or they're, house hacking, and people that are just everyday people. They're not like these huge developers that are doing like these, huge complexes or huge commercial deals or whatever. It's just people that are like, hey, I wanted this 2-unit and I wanted my family to have this rental income. I wanted to live, rent free, and they're doing it. And I think it is amazing. I cannot wait to jump back into it, but I really look up to those stories and I really enjoy seeing those.
What is your favorite business or real estate book?
Real estate book. It's not really a real estate book, but I really learned a lot from, this sounds so cliche, from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It sounds so cliche. But it was a really good book in just changing my mindset on money. I think growing up, as a lot of us have, money was something that you made it to spend it. And, that was the role of it. But understanding money and how you can use it to make more money, which is such a simple concept, but the practice is where the mind shift comes in, was huge. Another book that I really like, it's also not a real estate book, but I pulled it up so I wouldn't forget it. Black Fortunes. So this book is, for those who may not know, about, I want to say like 7 or so different stories about Black millionaires in like the 18 and 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing book. Amazing book. Yeah, I love it.
I liked that one. I got this one recently. It's called Businessman First. You can't tell he's Black, but he is. And apparently his name is Henry G. Parks. I think he's from like Baltimore, and he started like a sausage company. So it's a really quick read. So hopefully I can get through it pretty soon, pretty quick.
It looks relatively. So I'm gonna have to find that.
What sets apart successful Los Angeles real estate agents from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I think it's purpose. So if you get into real estate and you think that you're just gonna walk in and get like this $20 million listing just because somebody thought you were cool, or you know, your car was nice or whatever, even if that happens, to get the listing is not the hard part. To close, to find the buyer, to handle the listing properly, to take care of the client, and to get to closing is the hard part. And I think that's where a lot of people don't realize the work that goes into it. So to get the license itself, you can read/skim this book, you know, take open book tests, do another class, take a test, and it's pretty much like laws, and you know, that's it. The actual work comes in after you get the license and realize the volatility of entrepreneurship, the business management skills that it takes, the marketing that it takes, the determination that it takes, the money that it takes. Even though we're all independent contractors, like you have to put the investment into yourself to get the reward that you're wanting. Like I can't only like do like these free apps and like free, you know, marketing and things like that and expect to have the success or the long-term success that I want. I really have to pour into my business and to get that benefit. And I think but again, all of that comes back to the purpose, because I wouldn't have the drive to do all these things and like to go through what you go through as a real estate agent if you didn't have the purpose and the passion behind it. Like you would just be, you know, going through the motions, and then you would still fail because that's not enough.
I feel like that same thing is true in any business, and it's something that I talk about a lot. Is it's like people they want to just skip to the end result, and so people will say, "Oh well, Charles is doing this, so I'll just do that, and then I'll win too." And I tell people like, no, like I don't do this for the win per se. I do this because I want to change things. I want to help people. I want to improve our financial condition in America. Like I don't do it to necessarily like only make money. Like the purpose of me doing all these things is a much greater purpose than just making money. Money is just a byproduct of doing great things.
Yeah.
So my last question for you, this actually went a full hour. I wasn't expecting it to go a full hour.
Oh, wow.
Well, approximately an hour. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? And where can they support what you have going on?
So everything as far as social media, website, all of that is Klose with KG. It's KLOSE with WITH KG. That's my .com website. It's my email. It's that at gmail.com. It's my YouTube. It's my Facebook. It's my Instagram. I think the only thing is not is my LinkedIn, which is my name. My number as well, 818-579-2448. I mean, I don't know how.
About to get all the texts now.
Here. Really? I mean, it's a Google number. It's fine. I'll just turn it off.
Okay.
And then as far, you said supporting kind of what I'm doing.
Right. So if you have any products and your services that you want to offer to the people.
Yeah. I think following YouTube, I'm gonna start putting out more content there just to keep that education out there and keep the conversation going. Referrals are always welcome. And it doesn't have to be just in LA. I'm still licensed in Chicago, in Illinois. Even with the brokerage I'm with Coldwell Banker, we're worldwide. So we can, help people anywhere. I can, refer out or just be guidance for people anywhere. I had a consultation 3 weeks ago with a guy I went to college with. He's in Florida. The real estate process in general is the same. So I was still able to just kind of talk him through the process and what to expect, what to be ready for, that kind of thing. And then I would say just follow the journey, whether it's real estate. We just got into vending,
I saw that.
options.
I don't know why I didn't ask you about the vending machines.
Yeah, it's a journey. I'm not as involved in that piece. My boyfriend is kind of taking that and ran with it, but we're partners in it anyway.
Honestly, you have the better position. Yeah. I'd rather be you than be out there having to run around, lug these snacks around. I got a whole backseat full of snacks.
Running like crazy too, but it's fun.
LA is a huge opportunity for it. There's so many spaces to put vending machines in LA. I love it. Yep. It's just it's you can have as much as you have energy, if that makes sense. And so for me, I'm in the process of trying to hire on people to do it for me, but opportunity is just so vast, and it's affordable. The margins are fair. It's just, I think vending machines are great because it's so, like, you can't really get that passive income in Los Angeles, local passive income, through much of anything else.
For that small of an investment, not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And with the industry that we're in, like, we talk to people and meet people all day. Like, the first location we got was from the building owner of where his barbershop is.
Really?
And he came in for a haircut. They got to talking, and the next day he hit him up again and was like, hey, I want to put these machines in these buildings. I think the guy had 6 buildings total. He was like, hey, I want to put machines in these buildings. And he ended up getting 3 of them to start, but it's just building that relationship. And it's like, you see the hustle. Like, he saw the hustle, he saw the determination. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna work with y'all. And now we're working on getting more of them. So
that's cool. I love it. I love when like people, like, I don't know, it's just really cool stuff happening right now in this, what I call the Black Wealth Renaissance.
It is.
Episode 154. Make sure you check her out on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's Klose with KG on TikTok too.
I feel like the Klose with the K is like a spin. Like, he did that for branding purposes.
It was too normal to be a C. So
exactly. Smart stuff. My name is Charles Oglesby. Check out everything we have in the show notes. You can also check out her contact information in the show notes. This is episode 154. Signing off. Cool. That was a good show. It was good. When I